That evening unsettled something deep in me, something I hadn't even known was fragile until it broke. After 20 years of marriage to radiant daughters, and what I had long believed was an unshakable bond, the foundation of my world began to crack in the quietest, most devastating way. I had come home early, hopeful for a restful weekend with my wife, never suspecting that I was about to walk straight into the unraveling of everything I thought was certain. My name is Bill Miller. I was 47 at the time, a senior partner at a respected accounting firm, and from the outside, I was living the version of life many call the American dream. Lori and I had just celebrated our 20th anniversary, a milestone we'd once promised would mark the halfway point, not the end. We'd met in college, married right after graduation, and over the years, we had built what I believed was something strong, something lasting. There had been arguments, of course, and seasons of exhaustion and distance, but through it all, I never doubted that we were in this together. Our daughters, Kelly and Erin, were our pride and joy. Kelly just starting her freshman year of college, and Erin finishing her senior year of high school. They were close in that perfect, messy way sisters can be, equal parts laughter and harmless bickering, their energy filling the house with life. But after Kelly left for school 6 weeks earlier, the house grew quieter, and something in that silence began to change. Lori had grown distracted, her warmth turned absent-minded, her eyes far away. I told myself she was just adjusting, just missing Kelly. I didn't push. I thought maybe a weekend alone, just the two of us, would help us reconnect. Maybe all we needed was time. That Friday, with Erin away on a school trip and the house unusually still, I made a spontaneous decision. I left work early, stopped at the wine shop for her favorite bottle, and planned to cook the dinner I knew she loved most: rosemary chicken with lemon risotto. I was optimistic, maybe even a little giddy, but when I pulled into the driveway and noticed her car already parked in the garage early for a Friday, I felt a flicker of unease. I couldn't quite explain. Still, I brushed it off. I stepped inside, called out playfully, "Honey, I'm home." Her reply came, soft and casual, but there was something in her tone, something level and hollow, that stopped me in my tracks. As I walked down the hall and into our bedroom, I already felt my chest tightening. She stood before the mirror, applying her makeup with slow precision. She wore the black dress I had surprised her with last Christmas, and the pearl necklace I had given her for our 20th anniversary. Draped across the bed beside her was an open suitcase, half packed with weekend clothes. I tried to joke, still clinging to the hope that this was all a misunderstanding. "Are we going somewhere? I can be ready in 5. She didn't laugh. She didn't even glance at me. Then, with a steady voice that sounded far too calm, she said the words that would split my life in two. "Bill, I wasn't going to tell you, but since you're home early, I owe you an explanation." I stood still, heart thudding. She went on to tell me that she was going away for the weekend with another man. Not an affair, she insisted. They'd only met for lunch a few times, but she needed to get away, to feel alive again, to feel seen and wanted. It wasn't about love, she said. The man was married, too. It was just something she needed, like therapy. She claimed she would be back on Monday, and then everything would return to normal. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You think spending a weekend with another man is going to fix what's broken?" My voice cracked. She remained composed. "It wasn't about fixing anything," she said. "It was just about her, about feeling like a woman again." I didn't shout. I didn't beg her to stay. I simply asked that she keep her phone on, in case anything happened. She nodded. Then she asked me not to follow her or try to interfere. I gave her my word. Minutes later, an Uber pulled into the driveway. She lifted her suitcase and walked past me without a backward glance, her heels clicking on the floor like a closing door. And just like that, she was gone. I didn't fall apart. I didn't scream or weep. Instead, I walked to the kitchen, sat down, and let the silence settle around me like ash. I reached for my phone. There was one name I hadn't spoken aloud in years: Sarah. She had once meant something to me. Before Lori, back in college, we had shared a quiet, meaningful connection. But I had walked away from it when Lori and I became serious. I had been loyal. I had never looked back. But that night, Something in me reached out for a voice that had once felt like home. I found her number. I dialed. When she picked up and said my name, something inside me softened. We spoke for hours. I told her everything: Lori's confession, her departure, my confusion, my ache, the numbness I couldn't shake. Sarah didn't interrupt. She listened with warmth and patience. And then she asked gently, "What do you need right now?" I closed my eyes and said, "I need not to be alone tonight. I need someone who sees me." Without hesitation, she invited me over. That night didn't lead to anything physical. We didn't fall into old patterns or ignite something reckless. We simply talked, sat across from each other, to people who had once mattered, finding comfort again in that quiet familiarity. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a husband or father or provider, just as a man. Lori returned Sunday evening. Her mood was light, her face glowing as if she had just returned from a spa weekend. "See," she said with a smile, "nothing's changed." But everything had. I looked at her and felt no rage, just clarity. That weekend had shown me something I hadn't realized until she walked out. That I had been alone in our marriage for a long time. That love doesn't survive on loyalty alone. I spoke calmly. "Our marriage is over, Lori. I'm not angry anymore. I may even forgive you someday. But I can't pretend anymore. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce." Her smile faltered. Her composure cracked. But my decision had already been made, and I felt strangely at peace with it. There would be no more chasing something that had quietly died years before. The divorce was civil. I made sure our daughters heard the truth gently, without bitterness or blame. I told them to keep loving their mother, even if her choices had hurt us all. They struggled, as anyone would, but in time, they adjusted. We each found our own rhythm in the new life that followed. Sarah and I stayed in touch, slowly rebuilt the connection we had once shared. And over the next few years, that friendship deepened into something rare and beautiful. We fell in love not out of desperation or loneliness, but from a place of trust, respect, and shared history. We married in a small ceremony, surrounded by the people who truly knew us. We built a warm, joyful home filled with laughter and honesty. We had 2 children together, and I became a father figure to Sarah's son, Jacob, who welcomed me into his life with quiet grace. That weekend, the one that should have broken me, turned out to be the moment that redirected my life. For Lori lost a man who would have loved her with everything he had, but I found the woman who was always meant to stand beside me. Sometimes it's only through the deepest betrayal that we're able to uncover what real happiness looks like.